All right, Sammy.
Yeah,
We got a weird cold open today.
Yeah.
Audio files don't seem to be working.
Yep.
It is a Monday.
It is. Goodness gracious.
Trying to go live.
I know, it's hard.
So this is one of those, welcome to OAA Now.
Yes.
This is with Sammy Taormina.
Yep.
Sammy, blogger of the Dragon's Den, blogger of
the Insider OAA, one of the hosts of Between Terminus and Orion Television.
Yeah.
It's a classical Monday. You know what I mean?
It's so funny. Like, how smooth have we been?
Oh,
we've
been smooth for nearly 3 years, and then all of a sudden we get all this. I mean, like, come on. I mean,
we sit here and we're practicing. We're trying to get interview lined up. If everything works out, we'll have
Coach DeWald from Seaholm. You know what I mean? If call us if we can get him. You know what I mean? I mean, like,
yep.
You know, I've called him a couple times. You know, just haven't been able to get him.
And things happen. So we're gonna hold out all hope and that he'll give us a call and we can get him on, because there's a lot of interesting things going on at Seaholm.
Yep.
And I'm Ian Locke, by the way.
Yep,
Sammy's here. It's Monday. It's a beautiful day. So we're going to take that away.
We're going to take that away. It's a beautiful day.
At least it's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day. I mean,
technology
like, for sure.
is not working that well.
I mean, like, I don't know what it is. If you know, maybe because it's the red sun. Maybe
the gremlins have been kicking around.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's the first time in almost 3 years that we've actually had an issue here. And since we're going live, and I don't know if our listeners know, is that.
Mm-hmm.
When we record this, there's no editing. I mean, we hit record, we go. It's live to tape, and now it's live to YouTube.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't have the ability today, since we are live.
Yeah.
To stop and kind of fix it. So we're just kind of winging it.
We got a lot to cover. Obviously, of course, we're going to talk Seaholm football. Obviously, the outlook for them. Hoping if Coach DeWald gives us a call. I mean, like. You know, what are our expectations for Seaholm heading into the season?
Yeah.
Especially, there are some questions surrounding this team. And also we're going to talk the Groves. At Groves, they have new coaches in volleyball and girls basketball. So we got a lot to cover when you look at Groves and Seaholm. Basically, we're devoting this whole show to Birmingham.
Yeah.
You know,
which I don't think we've ever done. You know, actually said, hey, let's pick a team or a community and let's go with their teams.
Mm-hmm.
But it just kind of falls that way.
Mm-hmm. You know,
right?
Especially with the news that's been going around, especially going on at Groves. You know what I mean. Then you have the other side of 13 Mile. You know what I mean. So why not talk about them? Seaholm, obviously.
Yeah.
Let's talk their football team a little bit. You know. I mean, like, when you look at Seaholm this year, I mean, like, they lost a lot of talent a year ago.
Yeah, and we know, but that's the cycle of football.
Yes.
That's the cycle of high school football.
Mm-hmm.
But we know when that happens, there's so many great areas. And, you know, coaches know their teams best. They know their programs. They know who's coming up through the ranks, right? We just sit here and go, uh-oh, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Is that true? We don't know yet. But like you said, when you lose all that talent, there's a lot of question marks.
Especially when it comes to program strength, that's another question mark when you look at Seaholm. I mean, like, obviously program strength is a big time question when you look at the Maples. Obviously, the Seaholm's going to be a team where I think could, you know, they could sneak up on some people, but when I look at the makeup of the team, they're a very young football team. I mean, this is a very, very young football team, and I think when you look at the Maples, you know, they could have some lumps in the white this year. I mean,
and you mentioned the schedule.
Oh,
and we've talked about other teams too that you can have a seasoned veteran squad, and if you have a tough schedule, you can still take your lumps.
But
right?
when you look at this,
but now with Seaholm, they got some new faces. The schedule
is brutal, especially their non-conference. I mean, like, you know, this is where I wanted to talk to DeWald today. Was their non-conference? I mean, they got to go to Byron Center. That's always a difficult trip. You know, Byron Center, west side of the state. And then you got to play Clarkston, which is, we know what they have.
Always difficult.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you got Lake Orion on the slate as well. And then they close out the year with Stony Creek. I mean, so when you really look at the schedule, it's difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, like their non-conference, especially, and that's not counting in the white where they have to play Adams, where they have to play the arch rival Groves. They got to play North Farmington. I mean, like, you know, and that's not going. And of course, you got to play Oak Park. You know what I mean? That's not easy sledding when you look at that schedule for Coach DeWald in the Maples.
Yeah. And if you're breaking in a new QB or let's say a running
back,
O-line, or whatever, if you're breaking in any new kids, and it really determines like how are you stacking this schedule, right? And we've seen it. We've seen teams that have had those young players. Obviously, the first couple games out of the gate, you're like kicking the tires. You're trying to see what's going on, and say by the third game, usually those guys settle in.
Yes, I mean, like, you know, and of course, when you look at the offense Seaholm runs, you know what I mean? We know about the history of the Veer offense. You know what I mean? Obviously, the triple option. I mean, like, you know, a lot of people obviously look at Adams that they run it. You know what I mean? You've seen a lot of colleges run it. Ferris State, perfect example. The Navy runs a triple option
They've
attack.
been running that forever, right?
So when you look at the triple option attack, I mean, like, you know, it's an illusion offense. You know what I mean?
And timing is key.
It is.
Right? So a new set of players in the fold on the offensive side of things, it's all about timing and experience and making sure you're on the same page because, you know, you're one step off in one of those fake handoffs and you could be dropping the ball on the turf. I mean, it is, you know, or a broken play means your quarterback is getting drilled.
Right.
You're not going anywhere.
That's never a good sign.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you look at Seaholm, when you look at this team this year, I mean, like, this team's got so many questions. The strength of this team's going to be their linebacking core. You know, and they're going to be a very young defense. So when you really look at Seaholm, defensively, you know, the strength obviously is going to be their defense, but they're going to have some issues. I mean, obviously, when you're going up against teams like that type of non-conference schedule, you know, and then also, you know, when you look at their league schedule, got Groves, you got North Farmington, both bringing in new quarterbacks. I mean, Adams obviously with Parker Picoa quarterback. There could be some trouble looming for Seaholm this year.
There could be, but how have they done over the last couple of years?
They've been very successful.
Very successful, right?
I mean,
solid. They're breaking in new guys every year. It's not like they're leaning on. It's not like some programs where you have like a core group of 5, 6, 7 guys that are carrying you on both sides of the ball, right? I mean, this is a program team,
right?
They're bringing players in. They are developing players, and I can only assume that that's going to continue. It's not just like the spigot turns off, and yes, they're going to take their lumps.
They're going to take a ton of lumps.
This is a seasoned coaching staff. They know what they're doing. The program is humming along, and with success, it brings the bodies in, right? It makes people want to stick with you. So
makes you want to come into the program, obviously.
For me, it's not so much as like, it's more of a it's a wait and see. I'm going to use your
Seaholm's
your
probably
phrase,
going to
wait
be.
and see,
It's a wait and see approach with them. I mean,
I think they'll be okay.
I think they'll be okay. When I look at that schedule, it's just it's not like Oxford-ness.
No.
It's not like Oxford-ness. I mean, like
Oxford.
That's a whole nother animal.
That's a murderer's row.
Yeah, Oxford's schedule's murderer's row.
Yeah,
and
we'd love to have Coach Line on.
Yes. Obviously, when you look at looking at Seaholm, you got to look at the record against Groves. You know what the record is in the last 10 games against them? 2-8.
Seaholm versus Groves?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And their 2 wins were the playoff game last year, 2 years ago, when they shocked them in the district final.
Yes.
And then the game in the regular season last year we called Play of the Year, which was just insane.
Yeah.
Obviously just insane. So when you really look at Seaholm, you know what I mean, the record against the arch rival in Beverly Hills, not too good.
It's
which is mind-boggling.
It's not too good, but you see this at all levels of sport when you have real rivals going run after each other. There's some teams that claim, oh, yep, they're our rival. But, when you have real rivals, you may be on paper listed as, let's say, one is more superior than the other. And it is a cliche, but it isn't. We've seen it time and time again that if you throw the records out, right? You say, throw the records out.
You throw the records out the window, you know what I mean?
We've seen that happen where you throw the records out. You have to, because everybody raises their game for that game.
For that game, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the Battle of 13 Mile.
Yes, Battle of 13 Mile. And so anytime you have a rivalry, it's 50-50 in my book. Unless you have a team that is completely struggling and just not in there. And
when you look at the makeup of Groves this year, obviously you got Jaden Magnum at wide receiver. You got they are having a freshman quarterback come in this year. So I'm curious to see how Groves is going to have with the freshman quarterback this year. Yep, I just the name. Well, this doesn't go in my head right now.
Well, we talked about freshman quarterbacks. Unless you are some generational talent, you're going to take your lumps. And, the playbook is going to be constrained slightly.
And when you look at freshman quarterbacks, obviously, you look at, Sean Charette at Lake Orion comes into mind. Isaiah Marshall from Southwood Arts and Tech comes into mind. I mean, But
those guys, at least Charette for Lake Orion years ago, led him to a
state final appearance.
Is that
Marshall? Let's not forget he had a good year last year.
Yes,
for A&T.
Yes, absolutely. But it's not like you go, okay, let's bring in Charette because he's the next be all end all. Nobody knew he was going to be that good, but when he came in, it opened eyes, right?
Yeah, it opened eyes exactly.
But you can't expect that freshman quarterback to dominate. Out of the gate.
No.
You're hoping that happens.
You're hoping that happens, and it helps them for sure that oh wait, we got him. We got him.
We got him. Okay.
Yep.
All
hey,
right.
Coach, what's up? How are you, Coach? How are you today,
I'm so
Coach?
Sorry. Good. I'm so sorry. I've been doing stuff around the house. I completely forgot.
It's okay. Hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Hey, we're here.
I mean? We're here. You're here. You know what I mean?
Good.
We're talking your football team a little bit here with Seaholm. Obviously, we got some. I mean, how's your quarterback situation? How's your team been doing? You know what I mean this offseason?
It's going well. It was finally get back into the weight room. Once last season ended was good. We had a good little session in the weight room. Our quarterback situation. We got 3 kids really battling it out: a senior, a junior, and a sophomore. And
really,
in truth, as of right this second, I couldn't tell you where we're at with that. We have a couple more camps this. Obviously, going through 2-a-days, we'll figure out some of that stuff as the season gets closer. But should be a good little battle at quarterback.
Talk about your offense. Of course, the Veer option. Ian and I were talking earlier about the Veer offense that we call the modified triple option offense. We talked about this last year, but what does the Veer do? You know what I mean? For you guys,
how does it throw people off?
How does it throw people off?
I don't know if it throws people off. I think the biggest thing it does, it helps us, with the ball control. Generally speaking, the teams we're playing against have, better talent, more skilled kids, and we're trying to keep the ball out of their hands best as possible. So, that old adage of 4 yards in a cloud of dust is really kind of where we hang our hat. And we're trying to, like I say, play keep away with the football.
Talk about your Ian and I talked earlier about your non-conference schedule. I mean, I'm looking at your non-conference, and we were looking at Byron Center, Clarkston, Lake Orion, Stony Creek. That's murder's row right there.
Yeah, tell me about it. We signed a 2-year contract with Byron Center. We were supposed to go there last year, and then obviously we did not because of COVID. And they're coming to us this year.
They're coming. It's good.
Yeah,
okay, that's good.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, at least you got to come to Birmingham and not having to go to Byron Center.
Good team. Coach Cisco does a good job over there. Coaches them. They've been very years. Stony Creek, I think Coach Merlot does a good job, and he reached out and said, you want to play week 9, and I thought, sure. They're obviously a really good team from last year. I think they lost a lot, but as we did. And then Lake Orion and Clarkston, truthfully, I just think the way OAA does things is starting to drive me nuts. I mean, it's just, I don't know how we always get these schools that are, 2 times bigger than us. Whoever does those math equations to put people into different scenarios.
It's tough.
Whatever.
I know.
We got to do something because it's just the white teams just get, you're always you're crossing over up, and it drives us nuts. So, but you get your schedule. You don't complain about it. You put your nose down. You go to work.
Yep. Obviously, we talk about your rivalry with Groves, and I think this is probably the most interesting one. Talk about that rivalry a little bit with Groves, and I know you know Coach Pletty very well. Talk about that rivalry with your travel from 13 Mile.
It's good. Obviously, it's a really good program, extremely well coached on both sides of the ball and on special teams. They do a really, really good job. They run a good program. I'm very irritated with how the season ended last year with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's complete BS, but, it is what it is, and they beat us in that game, and it's too bad because I think really, truthfully, in my mind, I think the winner of that game probably can go to the semifinals again, and both teams are out of the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. You know what I mean? That happened. I mean, what's the motivation this year for you guys coming into the season? What is that motivation?
Well, I think the motivation is play as good as we can. I know that sounds so cheesy, Sammy, but it's the truth. We've been pretty blessed these last couple of years, have some really good classes come through. Now we have a little bit of a smaller class, even smaller than before. I mean, the numbers are really down. But our kids, understand we lost a lot of starters, and they're accepting the challenge and looking forward to, the challenge of a serious schedule.
Yeah. Any standouts you guys got that we like to know about coming into the year? Any standouts that you have? Coach?
Yeah, we have Jack Trench is going to be a 3-year starter for us. He's what we call the A back or the slot back. I think we're going to move him to the B back, which is the running back behind the quarterback. We'll move him there. He's also, he's learning quarterback position just in case we have to go, God forbid if we have to go to a 4th quarterback, we're in deep trouble.
Yeah.
But he's trying to learn that position too. So he's going to kind of be everywhere, and he's our punter. He's our, defensive back. He's a really smart kid, and we're really lucky to have him. And then we have 2 guys on the other side of the ball, Luke Ridgemeyer.
Mm-hmm. Coach, can you hear me?
Yeah, he broke his leg pretty badly in rugby season, and he's hopefully going to be back for the first game, but he's battling that. And then Jacob Vance is.
I know a lot about him.
Yeah, Jacob Vance is a great kid. I mean, he's great, hard worker.
Yeah,
we're having some difficulties.
Yeah, Coach, you're breaking up slightly.
Okay, hello.
Now I can hear you.
My house is good. Okay, yeah. So Jacob Vance is a hard worker. I mean, last year, running back in week 1 versus Stony Creek, and then we moved him the next week to guard. He started at guard the rest of the year. So and he didn't complain. That's his type of kid. A really good linebacker on defense. I think he has an opportunity to go to a Division II school and continue his football career.
Awesome. Ian, you got some questions to ask Coach T-Bone?
Yeah, and we were talking to Coach Shields just a week ago, and we're reflecting back on last year, right? It was such an oddball year, something you can never prepare for. You can never have any type of idea how you're going to get through that year. Can you pull any positives from what happened last year with the pandemic and coming back to play and getting the kids up? And did it bring you guys closer together? Did it change the way you do things? Just reflect on that.
I thought it's cool. We talk about adapt and overcome, and figure out a way to get it done. Those are kind of buzzwords we'll talk about. And then you have that issue, and there's no question you have to do both those things. I mean, as far as the summer workouts, there's no traditional weight room. We had to be 6 feet apart. We're trying to be as creative as we possibly could during the summertime of getting those guys lifting and working out and actually trying to develop football skills when still being 6 feet apart, which was, you have to do a lot of creative thinking. Our kids really bought in, and then you got the whole idea of like, hey, is there going to be a season? Is there not going to be a season? And you got to keep motivating those kids. Like, hey, there is a possibility. There is. Mm-hmm. I think it was cool, but the weird thing, we were sitting there during practice on a Friday evening when out and say we were at a water break, and then our trainer goes, "Hey, it's canceled." What? So I mean, it was during practice that happened, and we kind of packed everything up, and then truthfully, I went the very next weekend. I went camping with the Brother Rice coach. I'm like, oh, we can go camping in August. I've never done that before. So we went up, and I'm driving up to Leelanau, and all of a sudden the news hits we're back on. I'm like, So then I'm pulling a big trailer, and I'm like trying to read this email and swaying all over the road. So,
but that's,
were you on 75 when that happened? Or were you
I was on 75.
You were on 75 when it happened?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Where were you at? Were you at near Gaylord or something, or where?
We were driving up to, we were heading up to, we just got on the road. I just got on the road, and we were heading up to Leelanau, Michigan, up on the other side of the state.
Yeah, but where'd you get the email from? Like Saginaw, or were you driving at 75?
Yeah, I don't know. I got my phone started blowing up with a text, and, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I said, we're back on. Then I got the parents, coach. I'm like, okay, look. I looked at this email, and I get the whole email from the state. I'm trying to read it, and then I'm trying to make phone calls and like see what's going on. So,
but that, I mean, you had to be. You get that text, and you go, yeah, we had plans. We're going camping. We're getting out of Dodge, and then you get that, and you're like, that changes your whole. I mean, for us, when we heard, and I know a lot of the football fans, the other coaches, the other teams, when you finally heard, let's do this thing, we're like, okay, well, let's do this thing already. I mean, we were ready to go, and we were so excited, and to see those kids on the field. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. That it was, we thought we were going to see nothing, and then when we actually see it, and you're there, it makes you appreciate what you have so much more, and the camaraderie and the closeness with those kids and the coaches and the community. It's just It just changes your mindset, at least for me and Sam. I mean, we were just like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Well, I think and you also you realize how things can be taken away from you so quickly.
Yes.
And you don't take things for granted. And pretty lucky. I can't speak for every team. We were pretty lucky. We had a really good senior class that had great leadership and great attitude. So we went through that thing with about as good as class as you could have with that. So we were super, super lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Obviously, when you look at I noticed something different from you guys from last year. You changed your uniforms a little bit. You went back to the maroon helmet, which made me happy. I was crying you got rid of the elbows.
I took your advice.
You did. I'm really happy about that. But I was crying when you got rid of the elbows. You know that, right?
What's that?
I was crying when you got rid of the elbows on the uniforms. I was really crying. Seriously.
Crying?
I was crying. Yes, I mean, like, but you went to the maroon helmet, which made me happy.
Yeah. So the funny thing with that is when I first switched it over, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago, whatever it was, and the guy, the Red L rep, was like, I wouldn't do it. They're a pain. They're always dirty. I'm like, we'll be fine. And then I remember getting off the bus and you tell me, hey, why'd you switch your helmets? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's the last thing on my mind right now, walking the Lake Orion Dragon field. But like, yeah, I got you. And then I got, I was like, I am so tired of these helmets always being dirty and grimy. I'm like, let's just go back to maroon. Hides a lot. So
it does. I mean, like, that's what I love about it. You know what I mean?
Sammy.
I love that.
It always comes down to the helmets with you, doesn't it?
No, it always comes down to uniforms with me, because I am the uniform grader. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
I do want to get your thoughts on one thing here. I want to get your thoughts on Harper Woods joining the OAA.
Yes.
I do want to. I forgot to tell that to Coach Shields last week, but I was gonna.
I had no idea.
Yeah, they were joining. They were joining the league for starting in the winter they're going to start playing. They're going to start with basketball in the winter, and then next year they're going to be in there for football. So I want to get your thoughts on Harper Woods.
I had no idea. I mean, that maybe I'm out of the loop. I'm not on social media or anything like that, so maybe I don't know all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
But
Yeah.
tough as point. I didn't know that, and I don't know much about them. I didn't know who's the
Harper Woods. Yeah,
coach. Who's head coach down there?
I don't. Oh, Rob Olden is the head coach over there at Harper.
Oh
Woods.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I met him before. He seems like a good dude. I don't know much about him. To be honest with you, I mean that question caught me out of right field. So,
yeah.
Hopefully, I'd like to get more teams in there so we can maybe go.
A balanced schedule. Hello.
Yeah, because
Uh-oh. We losing?
You
there?
Say
that again, Coach.
I got you, Coach. You hear me?
Yeah, we're kind of busting up.
We're kind of busting up a little bit here. Coach DeWald, can you hear us?
If
Coach? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're busting up just a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay, how about now?
Yeah, now we got you. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I think, though, getting more teams, hopefully we can get to 4 divisions because everyone looks at the league based on who they are, their own personal team. They're selfish when they think about it.
Yep.
And I don't know if we're truly a white team, but we're not a blue team. So we're somewhere in the middle, and you would like to have, a 4th division so you kind of equal the playing field a little bit. So, so if that's what it takes to get one, let's bring on Harper Woods.
Yeah.
Or anyone else. So I don't know much about them. I don't even know who they play. I don't know the school size. I don't know anything about them.
Yeah. So it's really gonna be really interesting. Before we let you go, Coach, what is your expectations heading into the season?
I think
that's
we
a
could
question,
be a pretty good.
Sammy.
Yeah, I think we can be a pretty good team. I think because of our offense, it keeps us the ability to stay in some games. But you look at that schedule; it is a daunting schedule, and it's just kind of the way of the world. But I would sure like to see how we can squeak out 5 or 6 wins, get in the playoffs, and that would be great. I think that would be a very, very big success. I mean, we got a pretty young team.
Yes. In my blog, obviously, it's probably one of the top 5 toughest schedules that I've seen in a while. I mean, definitely top 3 for sure this year. Your non-conference brutal. Ian, final questions for Coach?
Yeah. I'm curious. So the playoff structure changed last year, right? Everybody got in. At first, I was kind of like, I don't know about this. And then I absolutely fell in love with it because we saw what Oak Park did.
Yeah, correct.
Right? And so what are your thoughts? I thought they would – I was hoping, beyond hope, that they would retain that because I think, more football is always good. And, having it go back to the point system and just share your thoughts on that experience of everybody's in and then swapping back. Any opinion?
Yeah, so I thought personally they're going to do it for 1 more year. I thought because
so did I.
They needed – I think the MHSA is hemorrhaging money right now because of everything that got shut down. I think they needed that extra gate. I thought that for sure would happen. However, in the grand scheme of things, I am not a personal fan of everyone gets in. I know Indiana does it that way.
Yes.
I actually – because I think football is unique and different, and you got to earn your way in there. And I think that's kind of what a football player mentality is all about. Earn everything to – where you belong, and I think it's just like college football. I mean, there's so much emphasis on winning every single week because it's so important. You get these. I look at a basketball schedule. Also, a team that's 2-18, they get a first round bye, and then they get they get a lucky bounce, and then they're district finals. I'm like, what?
Yeah, we've seen that.
We've seen that.
Yeah. So it's just, I personally like to earn your way in. But having said that, I thought for sure go 1 more year.
Yeah.
Making it, and I was kind of hoping on that, truthfully.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Coach DeWald. Coach Seaholm, Coach Jim DeWald here. Thank you for joining us this week here on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry for forgetting. I was just doing stuff around the house. I completely forgot.
Don't worry about it.
Thank you guys so much.
Don't worry about it. We're patient people.
We are.
All right. Love it.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right.
All right.
A lot of good stuff. And the one thing we know about our OAA coaches,
They always get on time. You know?
they always come through.
They'll come through,
They come
and that
to-
helps big time. That helps big time.
It
you know?
does. And
I'm really, really happy.
yeah, so am I. And I'm glad we could hear it from him.
Yeah.
And what did we hear? We heard basically what we were talking about before he came on
Mhm.
is even for him, he's like, QB competition? Yep.
Yep.
It's wide open.
Wide open.
And when do you make that decision? You
You
might
gotta
not
make it before week 1, obviously.
Well, he's going to.
Yeah.
He's going to have.
I'm just glad he's got Byron Center coming to Birmingham and not having to go back there.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
No.
But you're going to, he's going to have somebody driving the bus
Mm-hmm.
in the first week. And they're going to have to settle on somebody
They have to.
within a couple weeks of the opening, right?
Mhm.
Because you got to get that.
And this is where
starter
training
going.
camp becomes so important, obviously. When you look at training camp, to see who your quarterback is, to see where system you're going to be at. I mean, it's very, very important.
Yes.
So that's going to be really interesting to see what happens over there at Seaholm, especially with the quarterback situation. Now, those other two quarterbacks, what they lose out? Can they play other positions? That's possible.
Yeah. Well, it sounds
Because they
like
don't have a deep team.
so with numbers.
Program
And,
strength is a concern.
exactly. And he mentioned that. When we were talking about him prior to speaking to Coach at the beginning of the show, I was saying, well, they have a program. They should be able to get the kids in. But he just flipped that
Yep.
point of mine and just shut it down, saying, yeah, we've got numbers issues.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that there's going to be numbers issues throughout the league, continuing.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it leading up to the pandemic,
Right.
and having the pandemic couldn't help it at all. I mean, you're
No.
not going to say, hey, pandemic's over, more people. It just puts everybody on edge. So how are these teams going to respond? Especially, he said it so well. The size of their school is such that they're in between. They're that tweener.
Right. They're that tweener.
Right? Can they have a hard time getting numbers in, keeping numbers sustained. But
Mhm.
but you have to work with what you have, and
Yes.
then they throw them against the.
I think that's the importance of the Veer. Obviously, the Veer, it's a big time help. You know what I mean? The Veer, it helps you.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You know the offense. You know what I mean? The
Oh
Veer.
yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
Coach mentioned it. Coach DeWald mentioned it. It's like keep away. It's a time
Time
possession.
possession game. You know
And
what I mean?
we've seen teams who have employed that. Not take out Lake Orion.
Yeah, power,
We've seen-
especially. I mean, Nick Merlo at Stony Creek does
Stony
a really good job at
Fantastic job.
playing
Keep
playing
away.
time possession football.
Yes.
I mean, with Oxford, especially under Coach Bud Riley, he plays pound the rock. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Time possession
When
football.
their running game was on, you might touch the ball twice in a quarter,
Right.
and we've seen it happen.
We've seen it happen on many times.
Yes.
Many occasions.
Yes.
But when you look at that schedule,
I know it keeps coming back to it. It's tough, and I'm glad Coach DeWald mentioned it. Why is it that the non-conference schedule throws the little guys up or the middle up? The guys in the white. Why are they always going up?
That I do not.
It
well,
should
you
be-
gotta look at success, obviously.
Why can't it be split?
That I don't know.
It should be like we said. It should be balanced. It should be
Mhm.
split. You're
Yeah.
not going to take a blue and throw them up in the red.
No, but they do
You
it
know,
in the MAC.
They do,
They do that in the MAC.
right? Equal pain is it the
I don't
policy
know.
of equal pain as
Oh,
opposed
I don't
to?
know, but we've seen some teams upset teams in the past. I mean, obviously,
Well, yeah, and any upset can happen.
yeah,
But he's right. The smaller guys getting beat up by the big guys. But we've seen big guys struggle.
mm-hmm. And of course, I didn't think also with the playoff format. Obviously, I know
Yeah,
that
interesting.
when you look at it, of course, 6 wins doesn't guarantee a playoff berth this year.
Correct.
It doesn't guarantee that. You could finish 8-1 and still miss the playoffs
Yes.
because that's how strength of schedule
Yeah,
has to be very important.
Which blows my brain. But also, so Seaholm obviously has no problem in that area.
No.
They just need to win like 5 games.
Yeah, they can win it. I think.
What do you think?
I think they
what
can
is
win
the thing-
4.
You think 4 will
I
get
think
them in?
4. I think 4 will get them in because
And do they have to knock off somebody in the red?
no, because I think they can knock off. If they can win 4 games, especially in the league, if they can knock out Byron Center, you know what I mean, and win at least 4 of those or 3 of those.
Beat
you
the
know what I mean?
teams they
Beat the
should.
teams they should. I think you know what? The team that they need to beat, and you think I'm going to be crazy. They need to beat the arch rival from 13 Mile again.
Oh,
the third time in 4
that's a
years.
must-win?
I think it's a must-win for them because I know Grove's going to be good. They're going to be a good team. They are starting a freshman quarterback. We talked earlier on that.
Yes.
And they have a very good wide receiver, Jaden Megan. So I'm curious to see what happens there. But I think the game they need to have is the Groves win.
Yeah.
They need that Groves game. So a lot of things to talk about.
Yes. And reflecting on his comment on the rivalry.
Yeah.
And how it ended. And
especially what happened with Groves, especially having the forfeit, you know what I mean? Having the forfeit.
And why?
Because of ineligible players.
And Seaholm took the sharp end of the stick to the eye.
They took the sharp end of the stick. They should not have deserved that.
It's like if
they should have been the ones going the next round.
Yes, and not only that, but it's like you're bumped out, and I hate to use the C word, cheating, but you're breaking the rules, right? And you had an ineligible player.
But you don't know if they knew about it.
I know, but you at that level, you should know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This isn't new.
No.
These teams and these programs, and they have people that work full-time salaried positions making sure this doesn't happen.
I know, and unfortunately it happened to Seaholm, and I feel real bad for DeWald and that team.
I completely forgot about that situation until he brought it up. I'm like, You're right. And especially for his team loaded with seniors and expectations.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's that's tough to stomach. But you know, they have a great staff down there.
Yes, they do.
And it's not, you know, they can rally the guys, they get them together, and
they could surprise some people.
Yes, they could.
I think they could surprise some people. I mean, like, I just think that if things work out, you know what I mean, they can win at least 5-6 games if things work out. I mean, but you know, it's going to be very challenging for them this season. You know what I mean?
If they knock
Groves off.
Well, if they knock Groves, but if they knock one of the red that they're playing,
or their non-league game is Byron Center,
do you think that's an automatic? I mean, how many points would that be for them?
That would be
knocking
monumental.
off a red?
That would be, especially if it's a red. You know what I mean? If it's like Clarkston, beyond monumental.
Yeah.
If it's like Orion, monumental. If it's Stony Creek, it's monumental.
Yeah.
If it's Byron Center, monumental.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I think that would be helpful if they do knock off one of them. Do I see it happening? I don't know.
And where does Byron Center fall in their?
I think they're in Class B. I think they're in Division 2.
Division 2. And where in the schedule do they fall?
Early.
First game. So, but that's you're right. Good thing they're coming to you.
Yeah. And you don't have to go to them.
Yes, because if you're busting in a new quarterback, new team,
and you have to take that long bus ride,
and having familiar surroundings, the hometown crowd, that's at least what I would say. The hometown crowd's at least a field goal.
Well, in the Maple Forest, yeah, in front of the Forest.
Oh, yeah, the student sections.
Yeah, that's the Maple Forest.
Yep, they're fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So, final thoughts on Seaholm?
This will be very interesting to keep an eye on. Obviously, you know, I think they're going to be a team to keep a very close eye on. I mean, there's just some questions.
There's a lot of storylines going on over there.
A lot of storylines going on over there. Let's go down from Seaholm to Groves. Groves named 2 coaches the past week.
Yeah, I would do the sound effect, but it's not working. So
yes.
I'll go.
There you go.
Sound effects. Breaking news.
Breaking news. Let's go volleyball first. Groves has a new volleyball coach. Madison Klaus takes over the program. Of course, Klaus was the junior varsity coach at Seaholm last year.
Oh,
so
poached.
Yep.
The rival.
And then she also coached a 14 under national select travel volleyball team. Athletic director Tom Flynn wrote in a statement. All this is also on my blog at sammysemicolon@blogspot.com. This is what he said. Coach Klaus, our new varsity volleyball coach. While this is her first head coaching position, she comes to us with love and passion for volleyball. Her coaching philosophy is that a volleyball team should be composed of members who have the same goals in mind, to grow together, to have fun together, and to ultimately win together. She's excited to continue her coaching journey at Groves High School.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Takes over for Coach Jessica Propolic, who stepped down in April.
And for all of our listeners, remind us how that program has been running over the last couple of years. How success.
I mean, they've been in the red. They've been up and down between the red and the white. They're going to be in the white this year. They're loaded this year when you look at, especially, they have a player in Rebecca Apsey who played, who was a huge factor in the in an AU tournament a couple weeks ago. They have Lauren Brown. They have Lydia McKeever, Marsha Chalfoy, Allie Kirchinger, Lauren Sample, Deja Mines, and Heaven Harris. I mean, that's a loaded team that they got, Groves over there. They got coming back. And they're in the white, as I mentioned, with West Bloomfield, Rochester, Avondale, North Farmington, Berkeley, and Royal Oak. And their district is very interesting. They got Troy Athens, Troy, Royal Oak, and Warren Mott in that district. So just really interesting.
Yeah.
Now, if you're Seaholm, you know what I mean? I don't know if you're Coach Heather Lippert or Coach Jason Gambone, and you just see your JV coach leave to go to the Yard Tribal School. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. The rival poaches a rival.
Yeah. Makes it more interesting.
Sure it does.
You don't usually see that because usually the JV coach or whatever, I mean, if you're looking at the head coach in the program that you're currently in, and let's say you're sub-varsity
She's been
level,
very successful at Seaholm.
And are you going to be able to move up to that head coaching chair, right? It's not happening anytime soon. So you're obviously going to take the best avenue. And
to go to your rival school?
Yes.
Oh, my
Why
goodness.
not? Hey, you know your rival.
You know your rival.
And your rival knows you now.
But you're in a different division now.
Oh, that's true.
Seaholm's in the red.
That's true.
And Groves is in the white. So, but they will play in the regular season.
They will play, and you know they're going to meet up.
Yeah, and you know, well, they're not in the same district.
Well, but, I mean, there's tournaments and stuff like that
Sure,
all over the place. You're going to see each other.
You're going to see each other. And, of course, they're going to have their traditional rivalry game, I know, on Birmingham Public Access Television.
Awesome.
I got to find out what channel that is. Also, you know, when you look at this hire, I mean, like, it's an interesting hire. I mean, they go within the school district. It's within the school district.
Oh, that's true.
It's within, yeah.
So the paperwork's a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And then everything works out. You know what I mean? So I think it's an interesting hire. I mean, I think anytime you have a lot of experience back, a proven coach, she is a proven coach. You know, Klaus is a proven coach. So,
yeah.
And, you know, especially with the history, I mean, like, this is going to be this. I think Groves has a good shot to win the white this year. I really do.
Whoa.
I mean, especially with the talent they got back. You know, if you win the white, then you have that promotion to the red next year. So, you know, so I'm very curious to see what happens. And in that district, you got two red teams in there in Troy and Troy Athens. Warren Mott's decent, and then Royal Oak, they're a blue team. Oh no, they're in the white this year. So very interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah.
But I like this hire.
Yes, and it adds flavor to everything.
It adds
right?
flavor.
Which
It's
is
going to
good.
add some spice to a rivalry, you know what I mean, between Groves and Seaholm, especially in the volleyball docket. You know, and I think it's going to be good competition.
Yeah.
And now let's go to the other breaking news.
Jeez.
Jeez.
That's my sound effects.
That is your
Because nothing's working today.
You make great sound effects. You know that, right? Groves has their new girls basketball coach.
Yes.
Allison Heidi takes over for Coach Antoine Simpkins. Heidi brings a ton of experience as a coach and a player. She was spent 12 years as an assistant at Dearborn Divine Child and played college basketball at the University of Michigan Dearborn. Heidi is Groves' third coach in 3 years. I mean, like Flynn mentioned this in his statement. He said about Coach Heidi. He said, Coach Heidi is our new varsity girls basketball coach. Well, this is her first varsity position. She comes to us with years of experience as a player and a coach. She's a great addition to our coaching staff and we're excited to see what's in store for our girls basketball program. Girls last year went 7-8, technically 9-9. Won their first district title, I think, since 1988. And this is really interesting because we know what's been going on with the program.
The new coach is coming into...
It's a very toxic situation.
Yeah.
But she can change that. You know what I mean?
You hope that they
hope she can do that, you know?
But the issue, and we're finding more about what was going on down there. I mean, it's now it's been written about.
It's been written about.
Yeah,
we know about the statement. We know about everything.
If people are interested in finding out the coaching situation down there, where can they find that
info? You got Drew Ellis's article at MI Prep Zone. You can read that article.
It's a little more detailed.
A little bit more detailed.
We've talked about it.
We talked about it
on the edges.
On the edges, stayed out of the internal stuff and all that. But
we're trying to be positive here.
Mm-hmm.
But the new coach is coming into something. We're like, hey,
I'm going to talk about Heidi here for a minute. Because this is an interesting hire. Because Heidi spent 12 years as an assistant at Dearborn Devon Child.
Yeah.
Dearborn Devon Child, I've looked. Decent team, decent, I know she played at Michigan Dearborn, U of M Dearborn. I am very curious to see how her style of play is going to work against the Red.
We go, what is this style of play?
We don't know.
And
does she like to go run and gun? Does she like to do sets? I mean, that's a big question.
And coming in to the Red.
Yeah, that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
And you're looking at, you're staring at West Bloomfield in the face twice. You're staring at Clarkson twice in the face. You got Stony Creek twice in the face. You got Troy twice in the face. You got Royal Oak twice in the face, and then you got A&T twice in the face.
Yes,
that's difficult.
Yes,
that is really difficult. And you look at, of course, and you look at who West Bloomfield's got back with the Davis sisters. You look at and the Hendricks sisters. And Mayanna Hooper. You look at Clarkston, obviously with Aaron Goodnow taking over, and he's got a loaded group back. We know about Team Feinbaum at Stony.
Yeah.
Yes. And we know about Royal Oak, of course. Even though Royal Oak's a young team, but they still are a defensive-minded first team.
Yes.
And then A&T, of course, we know they got Jalen Austin. So when you look at Groves, obviously, you don't know how the program turnover is going to be, especially when if they're all together there at Groves.
You're hoping they are.
You're hoping they are.
Because it sounded like that wasn't necessary. Well,
you never know.
Would you say a parental coup was kind of what happened?
That's what happened. It was a parental coup.
That's how it's being reported. That's what's been going on.
Yep.
And underclassmen playing over upperclassmen, other things like that. And you're like, oh, no. And I just hope that is over for those for the kids. It's like,
I hope it is,
because when parents start needling and
bad things
can happen. And we weren't there.
We weren't
we
there.
Don't know
we don't know the
specifics.
Story.
Yeah, the real details. So let that just kind of do its thing. And
I'm just looking at Heidi. What she's going to bring to them.
Correct.
How are they going to be in the
correct?
I'm looking at that.
Yeah. How do we heal this thing?
How do we heal this thing? How do we when you look at what Groves has, to me, and I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
I think this is the 5th best team in the Red this year. Because I think that Clarkson, West Bloomfield, Stony Creek, and Troy, even though Troy doesn't have Alyssa Mantuthers out for the ACL.
Oh no! When was that announced?
That was happened during the summer. I got good. I talked to her father, who, by the way, is the new coach at Macomb Launch Cruise North. I'm really happy about that. I think it's very higher.
Tough.
But I think that when you look at the challenge that Heidi's going to have, is she's going to have to get everybody on the same page, including those who played last year. If they're all on the same page, this could be a top 5 basketball team.
Yeah.
If they're not on the same page, this is a top 5 team in the Red. So when you really look at it, this is going to be a team to keep an eye on. very close eye on is Groves.
It's more of a recovery. Let's see how they can recover from the swap and the turmoil and all that stuff. And kids are resilient.
Yeah,
man.
I know kids are resilient,
and they can bounce back. And if they pull together, which teams usually do, it's not like a system coming that completely blows up what they have. I can't imagine that being the case, because if you have the quality of talent that
they have,
staying,
especially
right?
those freshmen. You know what I mean? Especially those freshmen last year. When you look at Jordan Peterson, Nevada Otis.
Yes.
I mean, and they got some
so you don't want to.
You don't want to just
completely
blow it up.
Change
you
the
don't
whole
want to
thing.
blow it up.
Exactly.
So you can't. Yeah. If you do blow it up, then you're going to be just rebuilding. And being in a division like that in the red, that's never a good thing.
No.
And you're looking at.
There's no room to recover.
No. I mean, you look at, obviously, you're looking at teams that are, rebuilding. You look at new coaching staffs. Obviously, you got Adams with them Joe Malberg there. You got, obviously, Clarkson there and Goodnow. Now, Goodnow is walking in a really nice situation there at Clarkston. And he was in the program. So, So when you really look at those two are probably the two known hires this offseason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Malberg obviously has got more work to do at Adams than Goodnow at Clarkston. So I'm curious to see how. And then when you look at Groves' situation, you're right. It makes a lot of sense. This is more about recovery. You know what I mean? Now, I think Heidi's going to bring her expertise to the players.
As every coach does.
As every coach does. I mean, like her expertise.
And I'm sure she has her way of doing things that's been successful for her that she's going to incorporate.
Assistant, you know what I mean? But you look at the challenge she's going to have.
Yeah.
This is her first year as a head coach. You know what I mean? The last 12 years she spent as an assistant. What is the difference from being an assistant to a head coach?
It's huge. I think it's huge because it all is on you, right? It's not, let's say, hey, I'm in charge of fundamental development or offensive execution or defense, right? Or scouting or whatever the assistants are doing. This is all on you. So it's your plan. It's your
program.
It's the workout schedules. It is what is the goal, and one, getting those kids to buy in, and that's to say, hey, this is the new regime. We're starting fresh, and having talent like that, you would hope that say, hey, I've had so many coaches, and usually when they know that you have turnover, they usually come to us and say, how are you? They ask you, how are you doing? What what works? What has worked? And I'm sure she knows what she's getting into.
Obviously,
I have high hopes for them.
Obviously, one concern I have for them is program strength, especially in the sub-RCs.
Yes.
This was a problem I know under then coach Jessica Weasler's last year, and obviously with Antoine Simpkins' program strength, and then now with Allison Heidi. This is the program strength to me is scary me. It's scaring me because
not in a good way.
Not in a good way because like you see the majority of those kids that are up. If you're Heidi, you're gonna have to encourage a lot of girls to come out, and it's gonna be hard to do.
But that seems like the case across the board. I mean, we saw teams that didn't even field teams last year for
Pontiac and Ferndale. I know.
Obvious reasons, but depth. We've seen depth in a lot of these things. It's just these teams really kind of going down, and why is that? So that's part of the gig. Right out of the gate, I don't think she's worried about program strength. I think she's trying to rebuild something that was,
that's going to be the thing
to get you going, and then you dig into the
that team last year played a brutal schedule. So basically, they've been battle tested, sure. But now you're going to go into a whole new coaching situation. Yeah. They're going to have to adapt, and there's going to have to be a transition period, and that transition period has to happen during the season.
Yes.
It can't be happen during the preseason, but it has to happen during the season.
Yeah.
So when I look at Groves' situation right now, to me, I'm being honest. I'm being real honest to him. In my opinion, this is the fifth best team right now in the Red Division, and I know they got a lot to prove. I've looked on their girls' new Twitter page for girls basketball. She is saying the right stuff. She is saying the right stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, there's no excuses for this team. No excuses.
And you can't go into it with that because
you can't go into it with that.
Yes, no.
Because if you go into that with excuses, you're just asking for a lot of trouble, and this is not the right division to be in if you make excuses.
Yeah, and excuses don't get you W's.
No.
And they don't help you improve.
No. But we don't know the districts yet, so that'll be very interesting to see if the MHA does release them. If they do release them, I will post them on both the Sammy_Taormina blogspot.com and also on the ON TV blog once they do come out.
Yes, awesome.
So
if you're joining us now, today was a weird Monday.
Weird.
A lot of technical problems, audio problems, interview delay, interview audio. Just one of those days.
Just one of those days.
And so with that being said, like our music isn't working, our little sound effects aren't working. And so we're at to the point where we should probably wrap up already, this has been a quick hour.
It's been quick.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we made it through, and hopefully we can get these things fixed for next week. But yeah, I like the format, Sam. I dig the let's get the interviews in here. It's awesome. And
we got it in.
And we can focus on a team and really dissect teams as we move along.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun.
I'm going to try to get an interview in for next week. I'll let you know when I get that in. I will let you know.
All right, sounds good. I have no music for you, and I am not going to sing.
No, you shouldn't. All right, everybody, I'm signing off here. Take care, everybody. God bless, and see y'all soon.
All right, thank you, Sam. ON TV. OAA Now is produced by Sammy Taormina. The views on this show are his and my alone.
And it's been that day.
It's been a day. Yeah. At least the microphones are working.
Yes.
I'm knocking on wood. I hope this thing worked.
Yeah.
But if you'd like to make a podcast, give ON TV a call at 248-393-1060. We have one-on-one pod classes enrolling all the time. The studio is open. Get in here and have your voice heard right here on Orion Neighborhood Television. If you don't know, our podcasts are also aggregated out to Spotify, free of charge. We handle all of it for you. So give us a call, 248-393-1060. That's it for OAA Now. We'll see you next week. See ya!